What is up, everybody? Welcome on into the Call Up. I am Susanna Collins alongside my favorite gal in the entire world, Jillian Sakovitz. It is so lovely to see you, my friend. How are you?
I am pumped up. I am an electric eel deep, and I am down for this show.
Oh, okay, you guys, we have an incredible, incredible podcast for you today because we have on Jillian's boss, which is not awkward at all.
Wrong.
No, it's
wrong.
amazing. Darren Eales. Darren Eales is on the pod. We talked to him about Josef Martinez, new head coach Gabriel Heinze, and what he is like. And also, we learned something so incredible that we basically have Darren Eales to thank for Ted Lasso. So we'll get to that.
And Ted Lasso then should thank Darren Eales for his Golden Globe.
Exactly. Should have been included in that acceptance speech. I'm just
yes.
Just saying. Are we here for it? Let's get into it.
Susanna Collins, I went on a texting tirade this weekend. Maybe you thought something was wrong with me.
True story.
But I said to you, we have to talk about this. Honestly, Zlatan criticizing LeBron James. Basically, it all goes back to last week. He said something along the lines of that, do what you are good at. Do the category you do. I play football because I'm the best at playing football. I don't do politics. If I would be a political politician, I would do politics. That is the first mistake people do when they become famous. Oh, so because Zlatan's almost 40, he's going to teach LeBron James, who has been famous since he was like
he doesn't know anything.
13, okay, about being famous. Just do what you do best because it doesn't look good. And I was like, you know what? Okay, this happened last week, Jill. Like, slow your roll. He's doubled down on it.
Double down.
He has doubled down, saying athletes unite the world, politics divide it. Well, I have a freaking lesson for you, Zlatan. We live in a world right now, and honestly, we've just been in denial that we've lived in a world for a very long time where social injustice and bigotry and things like that do not stop at political lines. And like Zlatan, with all due respect, in 50 years from now, who are people going to be talking about more? Zlatan Ibrahimovic or LeBron James? And I have a feeling across the world, it's LeBron James. He has done more for the game and more for the world than you've ever done. Give me a year that Zlatan Ibrahimovic was the best soccer player in the world. LeBron James has been the best basketball player for a decade. And that's just what ticks me off. Like, don't speak condescending to someone like LeBron James. You guys can be up here. But it's like you look at world poll too, like LeBron James got 50 million Twitter followers. Last time you got 7. And I'm not harping on that this is about Twitter or this is about how many followers you have, because I am not one to tip my cap on how many followers I have. But like when you talk about reach and what you're doing, like LeBron has that high school in Akron, Ohio that he has built from the ground up that gives kids a chance to go to school. Like, it's just a joke.
We had Justin Morrow on the pod last week, who is literally leading that charge. We have put out videos. The Black Players for Change have put out videos about why sticking to sports is not the right thing to do. There is no place for any sort of bigotry at all in any way, shape, or form in sports.
I am very disappointed because I love what he did for MLS and I love the character that he was in MLS.
Yeah,
but you know what, Zlatan?
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, boy. Bye, boy. Bye, boy. Can I just say, there was a lot of noise on Twitter about this. My favorite tweet, who just shut him down, Baron Davis.
What?
Because it was like a very childish tweet, but I just loved it because it kind of just said basically everything.
Susanna Collins.
Yeah.
I did a double take. My mouth hit the ground. Head coach of the Portland Timbers, Gio Savarese, was on Extra Time last week. So download it, 1. But number 2, the man literally almost looks like Timber Joey. Shocking. You are our hair expert connoisseur.
Yeah.
I have to know what your thoughts were. For those of you who haven't seen it, Suze, please paint the picture.
No, it was crazy. So we had Gio Savarese on the pod this summer. He looked, very, very clean shaven, tanned, lovely. And this was literally you're right. It was Timber Joey version. The beard, this beard, it was like a Santa Claus beard. It was white. I didn't even realize that, he had white whiskers, but it was this white aggressive beard. And he kind of said, he was like, it's either we've been in preseason too long, or I'm essentially morphing into your typical Portland resident, which I thought was very, very funny. But it was shocking. I was saying to our producer, do you remember when David Letterman sort of emerged from no one had seen him in a while, and all of a sudden he had this massive beard and was completely unrecognizable? That's Gio Savarese. But it was a great little episode of Extra Time. So you guys want to check that out and make sure to catch up on the latest ETR as well. They had Tony Beltran. All right, Jill, are you ready for this one? I feel we're fired up today.
Oh, we are so sorry. Sometimes it's like, oh, do you like this purple jersey? And today we are like,
this is what happens when, we're in separate locations and we can't like physically bounce things off of each other. It just all gets very heightened. And this next one is something that elicited a huge reaction on social media over the weekend. Okay, so most people in the soccer sort of sphere have seen the show Ted Lasso.
Sure.
I adore it. I cannot tell you how much I love this show. It really was like one of these like bright spots in 2020. It made me feel good during a time where I wasn't feeling really good. Loved it. So over the weekend, Jill, Jason Sudeikis wins the Golden Globe for his role as Ted Lasso. Everyone was thrilled. And P.S. This is not the here for this, but I have to add this in. Everyone was like decked out. Like it was all filmed remotely. Everybody was in their own locations, but Jason Sudeikis was straight up like in his little flat in London, because they're filming the next season of Ted Lasso, in a like tie-dyed hoodie, like looked like he had some takeout Chinese next to him, and literally did not expect to win. And I was like, you are all of us right now. And it just warmed my heart. And then he ends up winning. So it was great. But so he wins. Yes. Soccer Twitter goes nuts, Jill. Absolutely nuts. People are freaking. It's almost like, it's like one of your own. It's like the soccer community feels like, well, if Ted Lasso wins, we all win. And like, we're all part of it, which is kind of darling. It's very indicative of the soccer community, especially on social media. But then there was the flip side of that. And there was a bunch of people within the soccer sphere that were like, I'm not going to watch it just because you guys told me to. I'm not going to watch it. Like, I don't want to because everyone's telling me how much I'll love it. And I'm like, what? If it's like, it's literally that good, like it's one of these sort of like universally loved shows. Like it's that good. Why are you putting up such a front of like, no, I'm not going to follow the pack here. I am so not here for that, Jill, because it is just such a good show. And it's like, if it's something that's good and it makes you happy, especially during like these times, why not just embrace it? Why not? I am not here for that attitude.
A little counterproductive. That if someone else scrubbed through 80 really bad Netflix or Hulu or whatever, and they found this gem and it happens to do with soccer, why wouldn't you watch it? But you know what? I think sometimes that is the American soccer chip on your shoulder. Like, well, like, we don't get respect.
Yeah.
We're not considered a major league, this and that, like rebel without a cause kind of thing. And I get it. I think that the little bit of like the MLS US soccer chip on the shoulder thing, like makes us what we are, but we also like need to expand our minds a little bit and just be like, okay, this is good. And we are going to watch it, and let's just not rebel things for no reason. Time now for our AT&T 5G call to the field. The man himself, fresh off of unveiling Atlanta United's newest kit, and 1994 Ivy League Player of the Year and President of Atlanta United, Darren Eales. And you know what we forgot to include in those accolades, Susanna Collins?
What?
The only, I think, front office member in Major League Soccer to have a signature cocktail.
This is the Electric Eels.
Yeah, it is. Guys, so cheers.
Cheers, Darren. This is for you.
We told Carlos Bocanegra to bring you one, and he didn't.
Rude.
Outrageous.
Unacceptable. Sorry, we left you out of your own cocktail, but we couldn't get one over to you quick enough.
No, they're very sweet, so I must admit, I do like the very frou-frou sweet cocktail. So it's not the driest of cocktails.
No
Hey, it's
shame
like
in that.
No, it's like being at the beach.
Exactly.
Darren, let's get right into it. I think that the big person I want to know about, and I think a lot of our listeners want to know about, is the newest head coach in Gabriel Heinze. Guy played at PSG, Manchester United, Real Madrid, played in World Cups. Now, this is something I love to read. He drew praise from Sir Alex Ferguson back in the day for his ruthlessness, his obsession with winning, and quote, a guy who would kick his own granny. That is how serious he takes winning. Can you give us some insight into this new man of mystery?
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously you mentioned Gabby's had a great history as playing career. He's an up-and-coming young manager. He's very intense. So we're just now into about our 5th day of training here at the training ground. We're starting the double days today. And, what I love to see is he's out there. He's very hands-on. He's taking all the sessions. He's really focused on it. So he reminds me quite a lot of, other managers I've worked with in the past. He's very intense. And what pre-season is like. It's the time for him to try and get his tactics across to the team. So, he's laser focused on that. We were fortunate. We got him out to the kit launch on Friday. But
yes.
To be honest, he did his bit for sort of the 20 minutes that he needed to. And then he wanted to get straight back to thinking about next day's training session. So, he's very focused, exactly what we need for this season. And we're just excited. We can't wait to get started.
All business. I love it. Real quick, Darren, is he going to be nice to Jillian on the sidelines?
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be nice. I think it'll be brief. It'll need all of your reporting skills, Jill.
He can't. He's got to respect my girl. That's all I ask.
We'll be good.
Darren, another question that not only Atlanta United fans have, but MLS fans, soccer fans in general. Josef Martinez. We know he's coming back. We know he's on the mend. We've seen him with a plethora of puppies, which was absolutely adorable on his Instagram. But what can you tell us about the progress that he's been making?
Yeah, obviously a big blow for us losing Joseph last season, first game. And look, I mean, a few things you said about the whole league. It was amazing the outpouring from supporters from a lot of different clubs. And I think at the time that was really important to Joseph. And, it was a long time coming back from the ACL, but I think, this past week where he's actually been out there, he's back fully training with the team. I mean, it brings, I think, for him a relief that he's back out on the pitch. Certainly for all of the supporters, myself, to see him out there earlier today just makes you feel like things are right in the world again. And, that's good. And it was amazing at the kit launch. He got the biggest cheer of everyone. And again, I think for him and his personality, just that feeling of support that he's had through it, there's light at the end of the tunnel now. So I think, he can't wait to get back out there. Now we got to be careful. We can't expect to throw him in every game 100% from day one. So we're going to have to be careful about that. But, it's just great to see him back out there on the pitch. And, we absolutely missed him last year. I mean, any team would miss him, particularly in a salary cap league when you've got someone who scored the goals he has.
Do you have any idea how Joseph ended up with a dozen puppies? Has he taken on fatherhood? We didn't know this was going on.
No, and I don't know whether it's just the psychological impact of COVID and having sort of not been on the pitch and that sort of feeling like he needed to have something to care for in the background. But yeah, no, you never know with Joseph, to be fair.
It's adorable.
Maybe we can adopt one. It can be the call-up mascot. What do you think? I love that.
You can take it, though. I got a cat.
I'll take care of it. I need a puppy. Darren, you are a fascinating guy. You have such an interesting background. Obviously, we know you as the front office guy. We know you as the executive, but you were a very good soccer player in your own right. You played at Brown, 1994 Ivy League Player of the Year. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about your journey? Because at that time, coming to America, we saw somebody like Jack Harrison take that path, right? Where they come to university in the States, and that is their path for soccer. But how was it that was the best option for you? Can you kind of tell us how that came about?
Yeah, I mean, look, I call myself a failed soccer player. So I played for Cambridge United. So I was an apprentice at Cambridge United. This was in a time when actually Cambridge United were in the Championship. And the year I was with them, they actually lost a playoff against Leicester to get into the first ever Premier League season. So at that stage, they were actually not a bad team. And it was getting to 17. I didn't get a professional contract. And so I was wondering what I was going to do, and I got the opportunity to come on a scholarship to America. Now, I was a bit of a nerd, to be fair. I played sport, but I was a bit of a nerd. So my nickname was the Professor, because I actually stayed on at school. Like most people at 16, if you get you join a club or a professional club, you quit school as soon as you can. I actually stayed on. So I remember having to say it to my parents that I was going to go for a year. I described it as a gap year. It's just a year. I'll go to America and I'll come back and go to a proper university in England. And I went to West Virginia University. So I don't know if you can imagine an 18-year-old rocking up at Morgantown. That was eye-opening for me. It was
sounds kind of fun.
I think, culturally it was more educational than it was actually in the classroom. But anyway, I did a year there. And then what I loved about it was, at the time, the professional sport. I didn't realize, for example, that college football got the credit that it did in this country. And I remember I was on a dorm that had a massive big screen TV in the middle of the setup, and it was about 3 weeks later I realized, because I was on the scholarship athletes floor, we had this massive big screen TV. Nobody else had it on any of the other floors. So I quite liked the idea that we had a massive stadium that we played in. We would fly to games, we would do all the training, to be honest, more physical training perhaps than we would do for Cambridge United. So I said to my folks, look, can I stay? And they were like, well, you can if you can find a decent university to go to. So I was lucky to transfer to Brown, because my parents had heard of Ivy League. So I got to do the Brown degree. And then when I graduated from Brown, I played, and I was really lucky. I played it was a year before MLS started. So the A-League was the only game in town. So I signed for a team, the New York Centaurs, that played in Randall Island.
Centaurs.
Yeah. So, and what was really helpful for me in the current career was, it was when they were trying to Americanize soccer. So I remember, we played on Randall Island in the Cosmos Old Stadium. I remember the first training session I went to, there's glass everywhere because Lollapalooza had been on the weekend and they hadn't really cleared it up. And we would get, tens of people to come and watch us. If we got 200 people, we'd be happy. We played against the Colombian side when they had the goalkeeper that did the famous scorpion kick against England the week before that game. And I think we had about 35,000 came to that match. So we were super excited, thinking, great, next week we're going to have a huge crowd. And of course, we had 200 people show up. Because they did all the music while the game was going on. It was how do we try and take the game of soccer and make it fit for Americans rather than keep it real? And I think that was the greatest thing MLS did, was they came in and they said, we're going to keep it authentic and we're going to let basically everybody catch up to it. Mm-hmm. And so to come back to, when we were starting Atlanta United sort of 20 years later, and to see how far the sort of sport of soccer has progressed is pretty incredible.
Have you ever gone 1v1 with Boca? Have you guys ever had like a little duel?
Not 1v1. No, we sometimes have the staff teams, and I'd like to think that I play more in the Atlanta style that we like to see, that progressive attacking football.
Of course.
Ours is much more defense orientated, sure. Pack it in, win at all costs, So I think philosophically we're different in the staff.
No fun. We have to ask you too, Darren, something that's kind of become your staple is the cryptic tweets, right? So an easy example would be ahead of the historic signing of Ezequiel Barco, there was a bunch of boat emojis that you put out. And for those of you that don't know, Barco is boat in Spanish. So but then you've gotten real deep with them, lines, literary lines, things like that. Who was the first one you did that on? When did that come to be? And how much time does it take? Because I can never figure them out. I think Barco was probably the only one, and that's because it was like the worst kept secret in the world.
Yeah, it was interesting. So the first one we did publicly, so a bit of background on it. So since my days, I was West Brom, then Spurs before I came over to Atlanta. So I'd always have code names for any signings we're going for, because, when you're emailing, talking.
Really?
Particularly in the Premier League, you've got to keep everything as tight as you can. So I'd always have code names for the signings we were working on. And one of the early ones was Darlington Nagby. So Nag for horse in England. B, so I called him Horse Wasp. That was the nickname for Darlington. So whenever we were, do you think Portland will trade Horse Wasp? And that was the chat. So when
sounds like a military mission.
Yeah,
I love this.
So when we did Nagby, we did the Horse Wasp emojis, and that was the first one. And then, for me, it's just something. Quite sadly, it's probably the funnest part of the job. Like I love doing it. And part of it is, I spoke about it at the kit launch, and I think 2020 was a great example. Like, we can get so caught up in the world of soccer and thinking it's the most important thing in the world. And we forget we're in the entertainment industry. There's ups and downs, and there's far bigger things out there that matter more than sport. So for me, I quite like just having the fun with the fans on trying to come up with something different. Now, the problem is the bar keeps rising. So
yeah, it does.
At some stage, I feel like I'm going to have to jump out of a plane, to top the next one. So I'm going to have to start thinking. And the one I do regret, though, when we did the draft, was there was a player who had ketchup in his name. And I'll be honest with you, like, we had our second round pick. If he'd have dropped, I'd have picked him just for the fact that you could have had Heinze and ketchup, and that would have been.
You were already thinking there. Your mind was already there, composing the tweet. It's amazing. Well, Darren, that's one of the things that we love about you so much, is that you do understand the importance of having fun. You said it. Sports is entertainment. Soccer is entertainment. And you are one of the few executives in the league where you're always down for an interview. You're always down to chat with the media. You're always down to have a little bit of fun. Did you ever, at any point in your sort of journey, did you ever consider being on the other side of the mic? Maybe, being a reporter or a host or a member of the media or an entertainer, for that matter. Did that ever cross your mind? Because you seem very well suited.
He likes karaoke, I've heard.
Karaoke is an important sort of part of the Atlanta United culture. No, I mean, I think, look, it came from my father. So my father worked for Histon Club in England and Cambridge United before that. He's very sort of, he was very much about building the community of the club and understanding the importance of what a soccer club means in the community. And I think, that's something that Arthur Blanket, comes from the top, understands, that it's not just a business, it's something that's important to the community. So, for me, talking to the fans on the highs and the lows, that's what it's about. And I think, you can't be fairer than that. I think, you're not always going to have success, but I think you always can be out there, putting yourself out there, talking to them. And I think, look, with my background, I was a barrister as well for a while. So I did sort of 10 years where I had the wig and gown and doing the court cases. And I'll be honest with you, as a profession, that was really helpful to me coming into the world of soccer, because obviously the legal background helps you, but thinking on your feet. I mean, I think from my perspective, you can never be more frightened than coming up in front of a judge. If I'm in a court of appeal and I've literally had 2 hours to get my brief and master the facts, and you get used to thinking on your feet and basically blagging your way through things. So, that's, I think, probably helped me in terms of being in front of the camera.
Fascinating. All right. Well, then we'll put the pressure on a little bit. The other morning on Carlos Bocanegra's call, he said they're still signing a guy or two. King of cryptic tweets. Do you have any hints? Help a girl out, Darren Eales.
It's tricky, Jill. You know that. I mean, look, we see this nowadays because of the fact that it takes so long to get the paperwork signed off, particularly in MLS, because obviously MLS is in effect, in charge of the paperwork. That it does make it difficult. And, we've had a couple of signings or near signings this season where, for one reason or another, it's fallen through. So I can't really say anything till it's done, but Carlos isn't wrong. I think, we'll be looking for one or two before the season's finished.
Hey, we'll take that.
I know. Yes, absolutely. Any nugget that you can give us, we are happy to take and share with our listeners here. Darren, last year, it was weird. It was weird for so many reasons, and it was weird that to watch an Atlanta United team struggle, because we have been spoiled as viewers, as people that cheer on this club. And it felt like an anomaly for you guys. What was last year like for you? What was the biggest learning moment for you in 2020 when it came to the team?
Yeah, I think, look, we had the injury to Josef that we spoke about. That was a real blow to us. I think in a salary cap league, if I sort of look back, you're never going to have someone that can replace Josef. You get sort of 200,000 on the cap to be able to do that. But I think trying to think about where you can cover in depth across all positions, it's really difficult to do that. But that was a big blow for us, and I think that had a lot of ramifications for the rest of the season. But I think the biggest learning for me, it seems an obvious point, but but it's how important the supporters are to the atmosphere of a game. And what I found interesting is when I talk to any of my colleagues over in England in the Premier League, and it was funny, every refrain, I'll be chatting on various things, but everyone was going through the season, but everyone was saying it's not like a real season. Like, we were playing the games, we're doing it to get the games on TV, to be able to provide for the TV revenue, but it doesn't feel like real soccer because the fans aren't there, and they make such a difference. And I think, the one thing for me is never, ever to take for granted that feeling. I mean, we've been very lucky with Atlanta United. As you know, we've got the top 15 all-time attendance records, but never again like savor every game where we've got whether it's the 45,000 or the 70,000 in the crowd, because that is, I think, what sets the sport apart. Is why soccer is going to be such a huge sport in America, because we are so different from the other sports. That's what we have in our favor, the way that our supporters are just so engaged in the game. And it was really why we did the kit launch on Friday. We did it like a drive-in movie. In one level, it was a pain to do it because it's still difficult to do these physical events. But I'm really glad we did it because, our fans, we had 300 plus cars there an hour before it started. They were packed. They loved it. It was that feeling of camaraderie. And it was this feeling like there's light at the end of the tunnel. This season, hopefully sooner rather than later, we're going to be able to get fans in the buildings and hopefully, 100% back. And I think that for me will be the moment where, not that we ever all took it for granted. I think we all realized at some level, but it's until you miss it that you really realize how important that is. And I think that is the one thing for me and for all of our staff at Atlanta United is, let's never forget that 2020 year. It was terrible on the pitch, and it's something that, we hope we look back in 10 years' time and say, wow, do you remember that crazy season when we didn't make the playoffs? But I think more importantly, it's, remembering how important the fans are to what we do in this sport and what we do with the club. And, we've now actually, through difficult circumstances, seen what it's like without them. So we should cherish it even more as we go forwards.
Absolutely. And if anybody knows about one of the best traditions in MLS and being inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium, it is the Golden Spike hitter. I love to see who it's going to be. I love to see how much strength they're going to bring to the table. And you tweeted the other day, Darren, that do you really watch The Real Housewives?
Do I a little bit? Yeah, no, I'll be watching every now and then.
Yes. Okay. Well, when are we going to have someone from Atlanta nail in the Golden Spike? I look for them when I used to be down on the sideline and there's the little VIP sections and there'd be like someone from the Atlanta Falcons, this and that. Like cool, very cool. But I was always laser focused on like, when are we going to get someone from Real Housewives of Atlanta? Because you want to talk about like Atlanta culture. I think like that's where it's at.
That's my mission, Jill. So we'll work on that. I mean, you say the tradition is brilliant, and what I love is, we'll get people asking to do the spike, and we've had all the people from Evander Holyfield to Jeezy, and and again, what I love is I get to meet a wide range of people. I had that feeling Friday when I'm from the mean streets of Cambridge, England. Chat with Jeezy in the back of his souped-up Mercedes. So
you get a very good Instagram mix.
Yeah, trying to come up with some talking points with Jeezy, but no. So we'll work on that, Jill. That'll be my challenge for this year.
Oh, that
you
is
don't have
music
to
to her ears.
List, but just curious.
I love that. On the TV note, Darren, we had a little chat before you came on. Have you watched Ted Lasso?
Yes.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the show? Do you love it as much as the soccer Twittersphere adores it?
Yeah, so a couple of things on that, Susanna. So I was at Tottenham so the idea got pitched by NBC. They came up with the concept of Ted Lasso. And when I was at Spurs, our big focus was how could we break into North America and punch above our weight there. And actually got turned down by 4 clubs, and it came to us. So now, no different from a lot of coaches, you've got to sell it into the manager. So I remember chatting with Maurizio saying, look, Maurizio, this will be huge for us. It's NBC has just got the rights. If you let us do this, I promise you I'll not bother you with any other for the rest of the year. But you've got to let us do this, and they're going to come for like 3 days of preseason. So in the end, Maurizio agreed it. So we filmed those, and I loved it. What I loved about it was, as a concept, it was showing how far the sophistication of soccer in America had come. So you were able to laugh at the notion of an American football coach coming over. So that was, and it was the best thing we ever did at Spurs, because, you know, that clip was shown. And when they were doing the pick a club, when NBC started the coverage, Spurs were disproportionately ahead of the others because people had that name recognition. So love that idea. So when the idea came out, I was like excited. And for me, I love it because obviously I'm a bit of a fish between America and England. So all of the jokes resonate with me anyway. So I can't wait for the second series to come out. And no, I'm a huge fan of it.
Oh, this is we literally can thank Darren Eales for Ted Lasso. This is this was, I'm not kidding, Darren. It was one of those shows that really brought me joy during a year that was very often joyless. And I was it was just a delight. It was such a delight. And the way that Jason Sudeikis portrayed that sort of, you know, American fish out of water was just so relatable, but also like completely lovable.
And earnest. And, you know, when he does the quote when he's doing the darts game, Whitman, and look, I'll always be quoting him now. So everyone here is fed up with me doing it, but you know, this is a non-Schadenfreude zone or whatever. You can take so many great sort of lines from it.
Before we let you go, real quick, few seconds, we are going to turn the tables on you. I don't think our emoji usage is as impressive as yours, but we have 5 current and former characters of Atlanta United. We're going to flash some emojis up on the screen for you, and we are going to test your cryptic tweet reading.
Right.
Who is this?
Josef.
Yeah, there you go. Easy squeezy. Josef Martinez.
What do we got next? This one's tricky.
Ooh.
So a pilot could also be a captain, a ring, and golf. Okay. Yes, Michael Parkhurst.
Oh man, I thought we were gonna stump him.
The first Capitan in Atlanta United history. Next up.
Yes. Mr. Guzan, I think.
Mr. Brad Guzan.
That one is actually perfect. That is perfect.
Image of him.
Absolutely perfect.
Good job, Delina.
Okay. Oh, I love this next one.
Ooh,
I'll give you a hint. Not a person per se.
Spike, of course.
Okay, and last but not least.
That could be me, perhaps.
Darren Eales. Yeah.
Darren Eales, Atlanta United club president, and good sport all around. We thank you so much for coming on our show. It was a delight, and we can't wait to see you in Atlanta.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much, Darren.
Cheers.
Darren Eales, such a legend. Jill, how was that for you?
Amazing. I mean, talking to Darren's always easy. It's fun, and it's insightful. And what I really like is, Suze, you know, I mean, we've talked to front office people in MLS, the NFL, I mean, the whole gamut. And a lot of times you get out of a 20-minute interview and you didn't learn anything. And then if you're like, if I didn't learn anything, did the listeners learn anything? And you never have those types of conversations with Darren Eales.
No, never. He has always been absolutely just so open and kind and warm-hearted. And he talked about his interactions with the fans. And I love him even more now because he has that Ted Lasso connection. And
sorry, that was my
that is listen, Jill's a busy gal. She's keeping me on track today. I love it. But yes, thank you, Darren Eales. You're the best. We wish you nothing but the best in 2020. And Jill will be seeing a lot of you very soon. All right, time now for What's on Tap. And first up, this is so cool. This is so cool, Jill. Last week, the Black Players for Change launched this blackout collection of jerseys. There are 8 customized jerseys that they are basically raffling off. It was part of Black History Month, but it's still going on today. The site crashed, I think, but now it's back up. But you can basically buy raffle tickets to try to get one of these jerseys, and then all of the proceeds from that are going to charity. And they're so awesome. They were tweeting out pictures, posting on Instagram. So darn cool. So if you want a chance to get one, enter that raffle, baby.
Yep. And every team in the league has one, and that's what I love about it.
They're so cool. So cool. Definitely check that out.
Susanna Collins, get
Yes,
excited. Preseason, my friend, is officially underway. We are 45 days out.
Yep.
We should be doing some type of countdown until
know.
April 17th when MLS 2021 officially kicks off. All now 27 teams, see you soon, Austin, have now reported for their 7-day quarantine period. Medical exams, testing, full training will kick off on March 8th.
I am so excited. You know what was amazing? Seeing like all the teams posting on Instagram and tweeting out like the pictures of the guys back in training, and like everyone had these like big smiles on their faces, and it was just such a feel good moment. And I was like, oh, we're back. It's actually happening. What's up, everybody? It is Susanna Collins and Jillian Sakovitz, co-hosts of The Call Up. And if you want more Call Up action, hit like and subscribe right here on YouTube, right there.
And also make sure that you download every episode of The Call Up every single Tuesday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time or anywhere that you get your podcasts. And while you're here, why not check out some of these other videos as well?